put you in line.
There's people like Kim and then that Jenny Maxwell. I don't know about her, but she's been up.
Okay, good morning, everybody. The time being 9 a.m., I'd like to call today's Judicial and Public Safety Committee to order. My name is Myrna Molina. I will be chairing. First item on the agenda is to establish quorum. May I please have roll call?
Gums. Linder,
Linder here.
Roth,
Here.
Tepe,
Tepe here.
Williams,
Williams here.
Leonard, Molina.
Molina present.
You have a quorum?
Okay, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. And these were minutes from our last meeting of March 16th, 2023.
Roth makes a motion to approve.
Second, Linder.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Roth, second by Mr. Linder. Any comments or questions regarding our prior minutes? May I please have roll call?
Linder,
Aye.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We don't have anybody signed up to speak. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to provide comment to the committee today? Anybody online? Okay, we will move on. Our financial reports are on file. Do I have anybody here from the Merit Commission?
Harder.
Unfortunately. Second.
Now. We had our deputy test March 15th. 45 took the test, 45 passed. They've already been interviewed and the sheriffs received the certified list. Corrections test, which we gave in November and no one made it to the hiring process. We're testing again May 8th. Applications have been available during the month of April, and so far we received 6, which is not a lot. We'll test it anyway, but the interviews will begin on the 9th, and the sheriff should have that certified list by the 15th. So if there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for our Merit Commission? Okay, thank you for being here, sir. We will move on to KingCom. Ms. Guthrie, good morning.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are on file. It is National Telecommunicator Week. So thank you to the board and our subscribing agencies for the constant support and recognition. As always, anybody is always welcome for a tour in KingCom. We are over in Building C. We'd be happy to have you stop in and show you around and meet our team. April is also 911 Public Education Month. So we have been doing a lot of public education, most recently with Citizens Police Academies, where we provide just a tour and a quick presentation. We're also using that as a recruiting opportunity to talk about the job of a telecommunicator. We did a tour with Fox Valley Career Center, the high school students, to show them that for public safety, if they're interested in law enforcement as well as fire and EMS, that this is also an option. We'll be doing their Jamboree event tomorrow out at Fox Valley Career Center and talk about that again. Also with Citizens Police Academy, so we saw a great result because a couple who had attended previous presentations also became applicants. So we always enjoy when that can happen. Additionally, as I said, our call for service reports are on file, and we did raise our starting wages. We continue to negotiate, but we did have a bump in our starting wages, and that has helped. We have seen an increase in applications. So that is continuing to be the priority. We are hiring, constantly testing, and that remains the focus. And that's all I have this morning.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Oh, I think we have one resolution, Ms. Guthrie.
We do.
Okay,
I think it is about our P cards. We only have one, and that resolution is in the packet.
okay. May I have a motion and a second to discuss this resolution? And we're going to see these for every, pretty much under every agenda.
Tepe moves.
Okay,
Roth seconds.
Mr. Tepe moves, Mr. Roth seconds. Any comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Linder,
Linder, aye.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes. It'll just go to finance for review and then it stops there. Okay, anything else, Ms. Guthrie?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, okay, we'll move on to the agenda and we have Sheriff Hain. I think I see him online.
Yep, I'm here, Chair Molina. Thank you very much. Sorry I couldn't see your faces this morning. I have a tightly packed schedule, and the rest of my command staff is either on vacation or at conferences. So sorry we couldn't be there in person. But just a real quick thing to put on your radar. All of our reports are in file as always. And during the new security committee meeting that we had a few weeks ago, we decided to reignite the conversation. Some of you may remember about 2 or 3 years ago, we began taking a harder look at building A and how we can make it more secure for all of the employees in there. And of course, our very sensitive area being the county board meeting room. That kind of fell by the wayside over time. And so we've reignited that conversation. Like I said, we pulled up the blueprints that we had done about 3 years ago. And we began positioning a sheriff's deputy around the campus and complex there during committee and county board meetings. And yesterday it did pay off. The security guard downstairs had to hit the panic alarm for an unruly individual. My sergeant was there in seconds, took the guy into custody. So that's, to me, pays huge dividends to be able to protect that very sensitive site. So that's all I have to report. If anybody has any questions before we move to the resolutions, I'm wide open.
Okay, any questions for Sheriff regarding his report? Okay, go ahead and introduce the first resolution, Sheriff Hain.
The first one will be that P card resolution.
Okay, so we have attached the P card for review for the committee. Second page has a listing of everybody who has a P card from the Sheriff's Department. Any comments or questions? May I have a motion and a second to discuss?
Roth
Tepe
will
moves.
motion.
So Mr. Roth moves, Mr. Tepe seconds. Any comments or questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams, Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes on to finance. And then Sheriff Hain, you have a second one.
Yes, this one will be to change our contract to a new company for electronic monitoring. It's the same price as BI Incorporated that we're currently using. It's actually a couple pennies cheaper, but the technology is much better than what we're seeing with BI. So,
Okay,
That's it.
may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve?
Williams moves.
Mr. Williams moves,
Tepe seconds.
Mr. Tepe seconds. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes on, it'll be reviewed by our finance committee next. Okay, Sheriff Hain, anything else for us?
that's it. Thanks all. Have a great week.
Okay, thanks for being on. Okay, we will move on to our emergency management.
Good morning. We have our report on file. We were able to finally get the February counts for you as well as March. So it's a much busier volunteer report this month. But it kind of shows that spike from the ice storm. We did have approximately 3 EF0 tornadoes hit on March 31st into April 1st. We had 0 reports of serious damage. Most of it was just a couple trees down and an overturned truck. So we came out of that very, very well. That's pretty much it for our monthly report. We did attend a training yesterday that will, it's from the I Love You Guys Foundation. It's geared towards schools and how schools can prepare for emergencies from anything from the active shooter to fire drills. And it's a 5-step process. And we actually think that'll help us with the ad hoc security committee and updating our employee emergency response plans that would get us all on one page. Or on the same page. The nice part about it is they provide everything at no cost to us, which is fantastic. We can make changes to the program. We can modify it. We can put it in place for us. And they just provide the information and training at no cost to us. So it was a real good learning experience yesterday for this class that we attended. So we'll hopefully be seeing more of that here coming pretty soon. Other than that, we do have a couple resolutions.
Okay, any questions regarding report? Okay, go ahead and introduce the first resolution.
The first one is the P card.
Okay, may I have a motion and second to discuss and approve the P card review?
Roth will make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Roth moves,
Gums will
second. Mr. Linder seconds. Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Passes.
Okay, this passes on to finance. Okay, and then we have a second resolution.
The second one is an update for the MABUS agreement. MABUS is a fire department based mutual aid agreement, and what they're doing, we've been a member of MABUS for quite some time now. And what's happening with MABUS is it's starting to extend farther and farther outside the state of Illinois. And so what they are finding is that the original agreement that was signed back in the 70s and 80s didn't really work now with interstate mutual aid. It really doesn't change anything from us here at the county, but they're asking that every participating organization go through and adopt the new agreement. So unfortunately, we don't have any real say in what goes into the document. It was presented to us. This is what we have to have in order to continue participation. It really doesn't affect us being able to receive or give aid inside the county. It's just for that larger scale disaster that we might face, that this is what helps us with that.
May I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve?
Linder moves.
Mr. Linder moves.
Roth will second.
Mr. Roth will second. Any comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Thank you. Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes on. And then we have a third resolution.
The third resolution is recognizing April is National Volunteer Appreciation Month. We were a little behind in getting this to you. Time gets away from you and you didn't realize it. But last year, our volunteers put in documented, I would say that's probably in excess of this, of over 10,000 service hours to the county in the course of the 12 months. So we would like to recognize them for this as part of the national program of volunteer service.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve?
Williams moves.
Mr. Williams moves.
Roth will second.
Mr. Roth will second. Okay, we can't do it without these volunteers, and
Right.
if there's any other way we can show our appreciation, I think we would, but this is a good start. Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes on as well. Okay, thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Okay, we will move on to our state's attorney. Ms. Mosser, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Or good morning, everyone. Our monthly reports are on file. We do not have a presentation this month. Next month, we should have a presentation with our end of the year report, so you can see all the good work that the men and women of the state's attorney's office did last year. We do have two resolutions. The first one obviously is regarding the P card. I believe Mr. Tepe may be making a motion to amend it.
Okay.
Mr. Tepe.
So do we have a motion, and a second to discuss? If we can go ahead and add the amendment of the attached P cards to it.
Roth will make the motion.
Point of order.
Mr.
I don't
Williams?
see, and maybe I'm looking at, I don't see, I'm missing a page of the agenda.
It's on the back.
Sorry, my bad. I withdraw my point of order.
Okay.
Thank you. Move for the motion.
And I'll second.
So there's a motion, a second for this agenda, for this amendment. We all received the attachment. It'll be in our finance committee packet for review. There were a couple of additions to the P cards. Any questions or comments regarding this? Okay,
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend the motion to include the 6 people that are on this particular list. Now,
yes,
I of course know that this will go through finance and executive before it hits the main board.
no, I believe the P card review is only going to our committee and then to finance. It's just an annual review of the P cards of the departments. It's not going to go towards the full county for review.
Okay, but I'd like to read the names and the amounts so that we have it properly recorded.
Okay,
Okay, so the 6 additional names are Aaron Brady with a single purchase limit of 1,000 and a credit limit of 10,000. Christine Bayer with a single purchase limit of 10,000 and a credit limit of 10,000. Lori Schmidt, single purchase limit of 10,000, credit limit of 10,000. Susie DeChristopher, single purchase limit of 5,000, credit limit of 10,000. Anthony Ortiz, single purchase limit of 1,000, credit limit of 1,000. And Martha Paschke, single purchase limit of,
That should be 500.
single purchase limit of 500, credit limit of 1,000. And I move that the motion be amended to include these 6 people.
Williams seconds.
Okay, so we'll just, should we just vote on the amendment and then we'll vote on the full?
The amendment needs
Okay.
a second.
We have a second by Mr. Williams. Okay, may I please have roll call on the amendment?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Amended.
Okay, so the amendment passes. Now may I please have a, I have a motion, a second on the,
Just need a roll call.
may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes with the amendment. Okay, and then we have another resolution, Ms. Musser.
Yes, this resolution would be authorizing the agreement with Casa Kane County for a license of the space that they're currently in the Kane County Courthouse.
And we've seen this resolution before. So can you just explain what the changes were to the, from the original resolution to this one?
Yes, absolutely. This has gone through many, many months of negotiations between CASA, my office, the chief judge's office was involved in all of this. Essentially, what we are agreeing to do is to continue to allow them to be in the space that they already are in, and we're giving them a license to continue to do so. This license is good for the next 3 years. In the event, because within conversations with the chairman's office wants to find suitable space for CASA because CASA provides an invaluable service to Kane County and to the children who are abused and neglected. The hope is that we're going to be able to find suitable space as we continue to go through our space need discussions over the next 3 years. We also understand that even if we're able to find funding for it and to build it, 3 years may not be a reasonable amount of time to have something found. So with that being said, there is language that's added that allows them to extend the license for an additional 2 years if we're not able to provide adequate space for them to move into. And so that would be upwards only of that 5-year time period. Obviously, at the end of that 5-year time period, we would look to see where we are. And I'm open for questions if you have any.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Tepe moves.
Mr. Tepe moves,
Roth will second.
Mr. Roth will second. Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, so basically, I think one of the things the Chair Parag wanted to do after we pass this resolution is to have a formal discussion of where CASA Kane County sits within our county government, what our responsibility and role should be. But this is step 1 to get there. So no comments or questions. May I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Passes.
Okay, and this passes on to our next committee. Okay,
Madam Chair.
Mr. Tepe?
Before we move any further, I have a question I'd like to ask the
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. Tepe.
attorney. Okay. We've had on several occasions, we've had people that are concerned about election integrity and questions about the last election on April 4th. What I wanted to ask is, have there been any complaints filed about any procedures associated with our election of April 4th?
So good question, and thank you for giving me the heads up. So I was prepared to answer this question. There are no formal complaints that are filed. We do have an election hotline that we run the day of the elections, and I'm going to summarize what came up as a result of that. There were some other issues during the early voting that happened that we became aware of and looked into. So for example, in regards to on the day of election day, for electioneering, there was a caller that complained that she received a filled-in ballot in her mailbox from a precinct committeeman and felt that the practice was, and in quotes, shady. Another caller complained that a woman at the polling place had a pro-gun, pro-life, pro-Trump cell phone cover. One caller complained that a candidate was at the polling place but did not allege any electioneering. And finally, one caller complained that one election judge was wearing a Republican lanyard and no one was wearing a Democrat lanyard. In addition to that, we had issues, two other callers complained that due to redistricting, one voter had issues accessing the appropriate ballot. That issue appeared to have been isolated and was remedied by the clerk's office once it became known. One caller that said that the election judge was, in quotes again, wacky. One caller complained that she was asked for identification at the last two elections, but it was due to her signature not matching and she was ultimately permitted to vote. Two callers complained about one zone manager kicking out poll watchers for what they believe was no reason. It was explained that the election judges can ask poll watchers to leave if the poll watchers are interfering. Throughout this, for that particular one, the members of the state's attorney's office called the clerk's office and the zone manager who were aware of what was happening and had explained the reason for doing so. Members of the state's attorney's office of the civil division were on from the moment before election started till after election ended. And a couple hours after that, they put in a very long day as a result of this. When these calls come in, they actually go out to most locations to see what's going on, especially if there's a claim of electioneering, signs being too close, candidates being too close, whatever the issue is. So we were very responsive to that. And the clerk's office was also very cooperative throughout that process with us so that if we saw that there was an issue, contacted them, we all worked together. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for our state's attorney? Okay,
Chair
thank you.
Molina, can I just ask, what committee will this then go to? Will this go to finance again or exec on the CASA resolution?
It'll go to finance.
Finance,
As an
okay.
exec, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, we will move on to our public defender.
And I'll be there as well.
Good morning. I'm Brenda Willett. I'm here for Ms. Conant. Our reports are on file. We do have one resolution for the P card, but I do have a correction. We submitted the 3 names with our 3 P cards. A 4th was added, Vanessa Rogala. Her employment ended with us in 2021 and that card was to be canceled. We have verified it is now canceled, so her name and card is not included.
Okay. So that wasn't included in, are you asking it to be removed from the resolution review?
would.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Do we have to do an amendment?
yes. So may I have a motion in a second to discuss and to potentially approve this first?
I'll move the resolution.
Okay, Mr. Teppi moves,
Roth will
Mr.
second.
Roth seconds. And then may I please have a request to amend the resolution?
Roth will make a motion to amend the resolution
And remove the name.
and remove the name.
Deputy will second.
Okay,
Do we-
may, so we have a request to remove the name from the resolution as the amendment. Any comments or questions regarding this amendment?
Can we read the name out loud, just so it's on record?
It's the one being removed is Vanessa Rogala.
Thank you.
Okay, may I please have a roll call on the amendment?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Deputy, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Alina, yes.
Amended.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the resolution as amended. May I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Deputy, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Alina, yes. Okay, and this passes. Okay, any comments or questions for our public defender? Okay, thank you for being here. Okay, next item is our judiciary and courts.
Okay, I'm just going to start out with a couple things and then I'll turn it over to Ms. O'Brien. But really the most important thing that I want to tell you, and you've probably read about it, but we lost a judge this week. Justice Don Hudson passed away after a courageous battle with cancer. Legendary figure over at the courthouse and somebody that King County has always been very proud of. He was a first assistant in the state's attorney's office under Gene Armentrout. First became a judge in 1993. My first assignment as a prosecutor was in his courtroom. And then my career kind of paralleled his, and I spent a lot of time in front of him, which I feel very blessed to have had an opportunity to do that. Went on to be appointed to the Second District Appellate Court, where he served for 15 years. In addition, we've been getting condolence messages from across the state. He was very active in statewide judicial education. He was the only Kane County judge to ever chair the Judicial Inquiry Board. He did that for 8 years. Bottom line is, he was just a wonderful, wonderful attorney. He was a great judge and an even better person. So his wake is going to be on Sunday at Malone's Funeral Home in Geneva from 1 to 7. The funeral mass is going to be on Monday at 10:30 at St. Peter's. Again, we're going to have judges and different people throughout the state that are coming, but this is the second judge we've lost this year due to cancer, and just tough to see. And he was a wonderful, wonderful public servant and somebody that set a very high bar for everybody that comes after him. So he'll be missed. With that, I'll turn it over to Andrea.
Morning, Andrea Bryan, Court Administrator. We have two resolutions up this morning. If it be possible, I would like to do the second resolution first, and then Jason will do the second, and that will carry over to other items that he has to talk about. Okay.
Go ahead.
The resolution that we have is a modernization grant authorization. So the state of Illinois has grant money that they offer to various circuits and counties around the state to improve technology in all courthouses and courtrooms, to further the Supreme Court's directive to continue to further technology. We applied for the grant. It was a joint grant. The state asked that we supply a joint grant between Judiciary, Circuit Clerk, and Court Services. We were awarded our grant in full. And so this resolution is just to authorize the receipt of the grant money and the expenditures. There will be another resolution coming. We're currently working with finance to establish the sub-department and the line items that will receive and disperse the money. But this is just for the approval of the funds.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this?
Williams moves.
Mr. Williams moves, Mr. Roth seconds.
Well, second, yeah.
Okay, great. Any comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums? Ms. Gums?
Gums, yes.
Linder?
Linder, yes.
Roth?
Roth, yes.
Tepe, yes.
Williams?
Williams, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes on to our Finance Committee.
So the only other thing I'd like to add about that is, so the amount is over $3 million. And that in combination with the ARA is going to give the county a substantial amount of money to be able to upgrade and enhance all of our courtrooms that are going to take us into the future. It's a really, really exciting project. As part of that grant proposal, the Kane County Circuit Clerk made a request. I'll let her talk about it, but that was a grant that it was $666,000 that was part of that. So it's a huge, huge win for Kane County. And I just want to, again, applaud Andrea and Jason for the work that they did in putting that grant together. It's not a matching grant. It's not anything. It's over $3 million. It's going to come to us from the state of Illinois. And it's a very, very exciting proposition moving forward. So you've heard us brag about what you've allowed us to do in those other two courtrooms, the abuse neglect courtroom in 07. And so, what we plan to do then is do the same thing to every courtroom in Kane County. So it'll be a big, big win for the citizens of Kane County.
Absolutely, great news. And thank you both of you for your work. All right, we have one more resolution, Jason.
Jason Mathis, Deputy Court Administrator. I have a much less exciting resolution than that one. The P card resolution. We have one slight subtraction to that, similar to the Public Defender's Office. Our original submission just had Andrea, Judge Hall, and myself. This one actually has Mr. Naughton's name still on it. We have confirmed with purchasing that card has been canceled post-retirement.
Okay, so may I have a motion and a second to discuss this resolution?
Roth will make a motion.
Mr. Roth moves,
Tepe seconds.
Mr. Tepe seconds. Okay, so then I'm requesting a motion to amend the resolution.
Roth will make the motion to amend the resolution
And remove the name.
and remove the name. Thank you.
Tepe will second.
Okay,
And then can you state the name again, just for the record, that we want to remove?
We're going to remove Douglas Naughton.
You?
okay, may I have a roll call on the amendment?
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Linder?
Linder, yes.
Roth?
Roth, yes.
Tepe?
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Amended.
Okay, so the amendment passes. May I have a motion and a second on the resolution as amended?
Gums,
Gums.
No,
I'm sorry.
Gums will move.
Sorry, we have a motion already. I just need roll call.
Oh,
Sorry.
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Passes.
Okay, and this will pass on to our finance committee. Okay,
We've been given brief updates on our justice system strategic plan over the last couple of months. We had a spirited meeting yesterday with strategic focus area 3, which is workforce excellence. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to the leader of that team, which is our circuit clerk.
Good morning, everyone. This group, the HR Focus 3, has been really working on morale for the county, in addition to pay. I know the chairwoman is looking at pay equity for exempt employees, but we also noticed that the morale has gone down in the past, 12 plus years. And that's part of our initiative, is to bring back the morale. And this team is really excited and has a lot of fresh ideas and just bringing back things that HR already has, but we're not made aware of it because they kind of get pushed to the side because there's so many other things going on. So this is part of our focus right now, is to bring all the benefits that are included as being an employee of Kane County, not just, health and dental. We're talking about other benefits. So we're putting together a job fair that will be on Saturday, April 22nd in our foyer. It would encourage everyone that needs employees in their office to set up a table. Right, currently, I believe we have 12 registered, and that is also folks from other areas, not just Kane County. So we've attended job fairs and we've passed out our flyer, and it's bringing in more people. So I would encourage anyone and everyone to stop by on Saturday, April 22nd. Thank you.
what time is the fair?
Not 10 to noon.
Okay, anything else from judiciary and courts?
No, ma'am.
Ask a quick question.
Yes,
of
Ms. Masser, go ahead.
Ferrero. Ms. Ferrero, I don't know if this was brought to your attention, but a lot of the employees throughout all of our campuses were wondering if your group could work on maybe getting benches outside and picnic tables, because it's beautiful. Get outside to eat their lunches.
No, that wasn't discussed, but we will add it to the list.
Thank you. I meant to send an email, but then.
No, that's fine. It's all good.
Just stay away from the geese.
They're on their way out. So on their own accord.
Good, good. It's heavily
Okay.
secured over there.
Okay, next item on the agenda is our Court Services Administration. Ms. Ost, good morning.
Good morning. I have on file a number of reports, including the housing report at the JJC. I want to echo Ms. Guthrie from CaneCom that after our last union contract went into place and effective December 1, I've gotten a lot more applicants for all of our open positions. And as of this morning, I only have one open position, which is fabulous. I'm very happy about that. Hopefully that continues, and that is reflected on our stats. So you can see we've done our last round of hiring. We just hired 5 additional probation officers and 1 additional youth counselor. The rest of our stats look substantially the same as last month, so I'll leave it there. I do have a P card resolution, but before we get to that, I want to introduce Emily Saylor, who is a director in the Court Services Department. She happens to be over the specialty courts. And so continuing with my theme of presenting just small snippets, small pieces of the department to you every month, she's going to do a presentation on our mental health court.
That works. Hello. Okay. Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. I think the last time I presented on all of our problem solving courts, and that's a lot of information. So we are going to highlight just our mental health court this month. It is Mental Health Court Awareness Month, and so figured that was pretty fitting for where we're at. I Before I get started though, and I am happy that Ms. Gums is online, I do want to highlight her as we talk about mental health court. We have graduations that come up and we'll talk about that, but she has been a huge supporter of our problem solving courts in general, but really our mental health court. I think in the last 4 or 5 years, she has missed 2 of our graduations for our participants that come in. And so I am actually very happy to see that she was able to be on and see about our presentation. I also brought with me Jalissa Gonzalez, who is our mental health court coordinator. I'm going to kind of go through the presentation and then I figure she's much better at answering questions about the program than I will be. And so I'm going to kind of kick it to her at the end, but just give you guys some highlights over our problem solving courts for our TAC court. See if I can make this work. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. All right. So TAC, let's quick overview of our TAC program. Our mental health court started in February of 2006. So it is one of 3 problem solving courts that we have in Kane County, soon to be a 4th one, which we will talk about at a later date. All of our problem solving courts are required to have certification through the Illinois Supreme Court. We have to be recertified every 3 years. Mental health court was certified in 2021, and so we'll be due for recertification next year for that. Couple just quick highlights for our problem solving courts, and this is for everywhere. There are minimum requirements in order to make an application. You have to want to be part of the program. So these are individuals who truly identify that they have a need, and the hope is that the court can meet those needs. You have to be a resident of Kane County. We have a lot of resources available to us, and we do want to make sure that those go to the residents that we have of Kane County. One of the big throughout all of the courts, especially mental health court, is that treatment is mandatory. So from the time that you enter into the program and then throughout, you are required to be in some form of treatment. As we talk a little bit about kind of the court, we identify those individual treatment needs, but treatment is mandatory throughout the term of mental health court. One of the unique features of our problem solving courts is that team approach. So this is very different than all of the probation that we have. And that is our TAC team. The top picture is from our holiday event that we had. And then the lower picture is when individuals from our our mental health court went to the national conference. So the TAC team, I've just highlighted, I'm not going to go through and read those out for you, but these are all of the individuals that sit on our mental health court team. They attend staffings each week. They attend court each week. They attend the events that we have, graduations, and it's truly cannot happen without all of the members on that team. So just some numbers on the treatment alternative court. Currently, we have a capacity of 30 individuals. This increased in 2019 just due to the amount of applications that we were seeing come in. Our target population is a little bit different than our drug court. For those of you that may be familiar with that, we kind of gear more towards a moderate to high risk, but really focus on that high need aspect. The diagnostic center plays a huge role in mental health court based off of, trying to identify those needs of each individual. This is the only court in which the diagnostic center does an evaluation on every single person that makes an application that meets our moderate to high risk criteria for individuals. As you can see for applications, I put a 4-year chart in here just to kind of show you, we all know kind of the COVID impact that has, and it really did impact all of our courts. So in 2019, we had 46 applications. You see the drop in 2020, but really what I want to highlight is the 65 applications that we had last year. That is the highest application amount that we've had for the mental health court. I think there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, on the impact that COVID's had, and we are absolutely seeing that through the application process. So as we talk about kind of the goals of the program and what we're looking at, really what we're trying to do is get the right individuals into that court. We want to promote that community safety, but we also want to make sure that we're meeting those individual needs. Last year, there were 25 participants throughout 2022 that the mental health court kind of supervised in varying capacities. So taking a look at those 25, 88% of that are male individuals who came into the court. It's a little bit different than our other problem solving courts that we see. This is kind of we're not seeing much of a change though from our mental health court between the male, female demographics. The middle section there talks about the prominent diagnosis. So this is something that what I kind of want to highlight is that when individuals apply, they go through this, the application process, and they identify a prominent diagnosis. This is not the only diagnosis that individuals have, but this is kind of what they highlight as the primary focus, primary diagnosis. Of those 25 participants in 2022, 22 of them also had substance use disorder. So that's that co-occurring disorder that we talk about. What the Diagnostic Center does for us, and they do a wonderful job, thank you, is really try to identify the difference between those that need to be in the mental health court and those that need to be in drug court. And so that's kind of what we're looking at, because so many individuals in both of those courts have that dual diagnosis, that co-occurring. The other thing to highlight is the inpatient treatment. So we talked a little bit about the treatment. All of our participants in our courts are required to be in treatment, not only outpatient treatment throughout, but there's a handful of individuals who do require inpatient treatment. So what I wanted to do is highlight the inpatient treatment that we saw for the participants in 2022. As you can see, the majority of them were in inpatient treatment for mental health, through a mental health inpatient treatment facility. The other 40% did not require inpatient treatment. However, all received outpatient treatment. When we talk about the differences in community resources, so what I want to highlight is that as we talk about our team aspect, we are really lucky in King County to have the agencies that we have. And we have two agencies that really support our programs. They sit on our table. They sit at the table at staffing. They really provide their expert insight into what's going on with the participants that come in. So in our South End, the Association for Individual Development, AID, is who really kind of works with our participants that live in the southern half of the county. And then Ecker Center is who works with our participants in the northern half of the county. A lot of the services are the same. What you see bolded there are the differences that AID has that Ecker has that are unique to them. What's wonderful for us is that because they work with us and they work with all of our participants, if we have individuals who may need those services, we can utilize those agencies for anybody that's in our program. So we talk a little bit about all of our problem solving courts are under court services, the funding that comes through that, we see that throughout. However, each of our courts has additional funding that comes in. TAC receives funding through a number of different grants that happen. The Elgin Township Transportation Grant is a newer grant that we've received. 2 years ago, I believe, we started receiving funds for that. The focus of the Elgin Transportation Grant is on transportation. So what we're doing is we're highlighting individuals that live in that Elgin Township catchment area, being able to provide Uber rides, buses, passes, whatever they need to get to treatment, to court. On the south end of the county, we have our NAMI grant. Again, you can kind of see the money that comes in each year for that. It's a little bit different because it's not set for a specific, it's just set for individuals in that catchment area. What we have tended to use that money for is treatment copays, medication copays, basic needs. And I know Jalissa is going to talk a little bit about the basic needs of the participants, but really just trying to help them just get that next step moving forward. What I do want to kind of explain here is that individuals who are not in these catchment areas, we are still able to provide all of these services. We just do that through probation fees. So this allows us to really highlight and give access to everybody that's in our courts. The other funding that we get is through our King County Specialty Court Foundation. What these individuals are a group of volunteers that started, I think 12 years ago, maybe, through our juvenile drug court program. And they have really supported all of our courts. They provide Thanksgiving meals that our officers will send out. They do holiday events. They provide Christmas gifts to the participants' children that, through our courts, things that really kind of just make just that added support that individuals need as they're going through the court process. My plug for the King County Specialty Court Foundation is the sheriff's office is having a dinner. I believe it's on April 26th. And all of the proceeds to that do go towards the Specialty Court Foundation to help our participants. So if any of you are free on that night.
If you can't attend, they do take donations.
Perfect.
'Cause I found that out.
So yes, so we have that dinner that's coming up, and that is to assist with all of our problem-solving courts. So here's just some pictures of the things, like I said, as we talked about, these are the items that we have purchased for participants throughout the various years. So when you look at the top left, again, these are these baskets of those basic needs. These are foods that, sometimes, we have a lot of individuals who go to food pantries, and sometimes, what's there is very limited. And so we're able to really look at what each individual person needs. The bottom left, laundry detergent, things that you don't think about that I think, a lot of people take for granted, that sometimes it's very hard for individuals to meet those basic needs. And so we've done pillows, we've done sheets, laundry baskets, laundry detergent, really just trying to make sure that we've kind of identified barriers and moved past those. And then we talk a little bit about graduation. So, again, as we talk about, success is kind of what keeps these individuals going. Success looks different. All of our grants and, the additional funding helps with incentives, right? We incentivize people along the way as they meet these milestones. And each person, it's really interesting to see just kind of what kind of keeps them going. And so we've identified those incentives, and even those little milestones are success throughout the program. Ultimately, we're looking for graduation. We're looking for success at the end of that. We have had 74 individuals who have completed and graduated from tax successfully since 2006. As you see here, these are kind of the graduates over the past 4 years. Again, I see that dip for 21 and 22, but as we know, kind of the outcome with COVID, I think we're seeing not as many people were coming into the program during that time. And so we were kind of working with the individuals that were there. I do anticipate an increase over the next coming years as we have more people that are coming into the program. The other thing I want to highlight after graduation, which sitting on different, committees statewide, our alumni, we have alumni groups for all of our problem-solving courts, and that is very unique from across the state. We are one of the few counties that really has an established alumni group. And what that is if you have graduated successfully from our problem-solving court, you are able to come back to the events and to meetings that are held. And that is not without the support of our coordinator, who religiously is sending out text blasts and reminders and phone calls, and really keeping people engaged in the program. We recently had our art show for all of our problem-solving courts. I don't know if any of you were able to make it, but the number of participants from mental health court that came back to that it's great to see. And like I said, without the support of the coordinator really kind of pushing individuals, it just gives them a place to kind of come back to. So with that, the only thing, Jalissa has been our coordinator since 2018. And one of the things I did want her to highlight was just something that when she started, things that she kind of surprised her and something that's really kind of stuck out with her in her time. And then she will be available for any questions that you have as she knows the program inside and out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One of the things that I think that has.
But excuse me, you need to get very close to that mic and put it right, just bring it right down to your mouth. Yes, thank you.
There we go. One of the things that has surprised me the most since being in this position is I expected to help people with following their probation requirements, and certainly with following their treatment requirements as well. What I didn't expect is how many of our folks really struggle with just meeting their basic needs. So having access to food, shelter, stable housing, all of those things. So it's been really a powerful position to be in, to be able to identify those needs and to help them, whether it's connecting them to resources that they're potentially eligible for in the community, or reaching out to the department to see how we can help. That has been one of the very important roles I think that we also play that I didn't expect coming into it. the art show recently was great. It was so nice to be able to have everybody in person again. We did have alumni that attended as well. A couple of them had asked for resources for jobs, so we got a couple of them hooked up the next day. We were able to get somebody into forklift certification the following day. So it's just nice to be able to continue to help our alumni as well as the current participants in the program.
Madam Chair,
Questions, Mr. Tepe, go ahead.
it's time for questions. Okay, I have a whole bunch of things that relate to questions, so let me kind of get them all out. First off, I firmly believe that developing an individual plan for a person is a way to succeed, and I'm sure that you do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I really relate to the fact is how can we improve things? Because I see kind of the following numbers. First off, I see that you're somewhat limited to 30 people in the program. But yet last year or this year, you've had 65 applicants. So that begins to ask, do you need more resources? You're graduating a few people out of the program, and we need to really focus on that and applaud that, because every individual person that gets out is somebody who is giving back to society, not taking from it. And we need to do that. Are there ways that we can improve that? Do you need more resources? Do you need more people? Because, you know, if you had 25 people in the program, you had 65 applicants, you had 3 graduates, can we provide more resources so you can handle more people? And do you need more resources to be able to improve that graduation rate?
Absolutely. Great questions. Thank you. Of those applicants that we received, not all of those were necessarily eligible for our program. So some of them, for example, lived out of county, so they weren't eligible to come into the program. Others we referred to other specialty courts like drug court. We have referred them as well because that was the more appropriate court. So there's different reasons why they didn't necessarily come into the program. I always would welcome any additional resources that we could have, because we do have a lot of the current participants that have a lot of needs. And as much as we try to help, I think there's always room for improvement in those areas. So I would definitely like to explore that a little further and see where we can get more assistance with resources to help our participants be successful.
And now,
Were there any people that were not accepted in the program because you didn't have resources?
we do have a capacity limit, which is what I think that you're getting at. And part of that capacity limit is just the capacity of the court. So all of the specialty courts, those are very intensive court calls. They involve the entire team of people. So if we were to expand capacity, we would need to sit down with all of our partners to figure out, do we need another state's attorney? Do we need another judge to establish another call? Because part of why there's that 30 individual limit is the capacity of that court call. So we would have to expand that, and that would mean extra personnel and expansion of all of the court partners.
Yeah, we just modernized all the courts. That should have taken care of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the other thing is I was fortunate to serve as the treatment alternative court judge for about 4 years. What I will tell you, Mr. Tepe, is different times we've bumped up against that cap. But because people graduate, because unfortunately some people don't complete the program, I can't remember really a time where we were never able to serve somebody. But we've had that discussion before, but as it was pointed out, what really makes, I think, in my opinion, from being in there, specialty courts so unique is you have standards where they talk about every time one of those people comes in front of the bench, you're supposed to spend 3 to 5 minutes just talking and just getting to know them. After that 3 to 5 minutes, the court call, it's a conversation. It's not your regular 2-minute court call. And it's all designed, again, to build that relationship and that trust with the team. And so we've run into this before where we want to serve more. But as a result of what the court call entails and how important that relationship building is, it's hard to do. But again, to your point, during my 4 years there, even though we bumped up to the cap at different times, I cannot remember somebody that we had to turn away. They may be delayed. I mean, that I do know that there have been times where we had to have somebody wait to get into the program. But at least that has not been something we've run into lately.
Thank you.
And just a question, how do we define graduation? Like, if you have those applicants, what's the process to get them there, and how is that actually defined?
So we have a total of 3 phases in our program, and each phase is very specific with the milestones that they need to accomplish. And that includes their treatment recommendations, the probation requirements. We do drug testing as well. So there's different milestones that are all outlined in each phase that they need to meet in order to be eligible for graduation. Usually the probation term is 24 months once they come into the program. So it's a 2-year commitment to the program. And if they meet all of those milestones, they're eligible for graduation at the end of the term.
Mr. Roth?
I had similar questions to Mr. Tepe. You had said, 65 applicants. I think it'd be informative maybe to say, here's how many got disqualified for whatever reason. And then you had 25 go through last year. But the chart that shows graduates, you said total of 74. It'd be interesting to have a comparison of how many applicants were in there and how many graduated. Similar to, schools, what are we graduating? And then doing the research, why, so we can improve, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my only.
Right. And part of the reason why the graduation rate is lower is because like Jalissa said, it's a 2-year term to complete. So we had, when COVID hit, the number of applicants went down. So we're at the tail end of that 2 years.
Right.
It should go up now, but we'll definitely dive into it.
Okay.
I'll tell you, the other thing that's that everybody should be aware of is that based upon the standards set by the AOIC, in order to get into a problem solving court, you have to be high risk, high need. It's an issue that the vet court has run into because a lot of the veterans that apply don't qualify as high risk, high need because they have supports, which the AOIC in King County is already working on. But a lot of people, when I was there, would apply, but after they're assessed, even though they apply, they don't qualify because, it sounds a little bit crazy to say, well, they have this diagnosis, but they have support system or they have a higher income or they have the services that they need. So when you talk about that 65, some people, again, it's not that they're not welcome into the program, but as they go through the diagnosis and the assessment, they don't meet the criteria to get into the program.
Madam Chair, this is Alan.
Miss Allen, go ahead.
I just wanted to share, I've attended a number of the drug court graduations, and one of the things that happens as people become healthy is they get perspective back, they get optimism back, and sometimes a sense of humor. And I remember one of the graduates saying, well, this 2-year program only took me 5 years, but here I am, I made it. So just to remember that sometimes, everybody, this is the most expensive way to try and help save someone's life. But at the end of it, if you get a healthy person, that's a healthy family, that's a healthy community. It's expensive, but it's worth it every step of the way. So thanks to our team and thanks for the support that makes it happen.
Thank you, Miss Allen. And Miss Gumbs, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I'm sure you're all anticipating it, but thank you very much for speaking of me. I appreciate that. I just want to reiterate that this program, all these programs are so much harder than sitting in court and being, go to court and go to jail. Having had experience with a lot of these individuals post-graduation and their families as well, I think it's important that we keep in mind that these programs don't end when they walk out of the courtroom. From the clerk's office through the judge, through the county board, everybody is always there for them when they leave. And I'm going to sound a little cheesy here, but with our status, to continue to make these programs, and not the programs, but the people succeed, we have to engage with them in their ventures after they leave. So I just want you to know that, we have plenty of graduates and wonderful things going on. We also have to support them afterwards so they don't come back and they feel important, because they are important. And it's a lot harder to go through these programs than it is to sit in jail. So I applaud everybody across the board, but ask the board members to just keep those things in mind. So if you run into some graduate, make sure, prime example, we have somebody that went through our Master Chef program. I refer that individual to all kinds of folks. And the families also speak to me. And as somebody who has lived experience with that family, as a board member, we can refer them for respite and relief also, something that the courts don't necessarily handle, but we can. So I just want to say, these obviously are very important to me, and we all have a role to play. And I will stop rambling. And I will just add that we didn't have a lot of tornado damage, but my whole house is being moved right now from a tornado.
Thank you, Ms. Gums. Okay, any other
Madam
comments or
Chair,
questions?
Bates, please.
Ms. Bates, go ahead.
Please. Thank you, Ms. Gums, for always being so compassionate to these folks. I do find it hard to believe that this is harder than being in jail, but I know you're saying this is hard work. My question is, I don't understand exactly how people get to the mental health court. Is it some kind of an arrest, a sheriff's call, a 911 call, and then they're evaluated? And is it sort of a diversion?
I can take that, I think, just from the court perspective. So they are arrested, they are charged. It is not pre-arrest. After they end up getting an attorney, after the attorney talks to them and talks to our staff, if they believe that they qualify, they have to fill out an application and go through a review to see if they qualify for the program. So it's not pre-arrest. It is, I guess, a statutory diversion program. Ms. Mosser is running a number of different diversion programs. This is a statutorily based program that the AOIC is the one that sets the standard. So, and I'm not sure when they come out, if they come out, if they come out without a conviction or if there is a conviction. Julissa, do you know?
Majority of our graduates are in a deferral, so the charges are dismissed.
So it's, yeah. So again, at the end, if they successfully complete, they're able to have the case dismissed. But again, that's by statute, not by the state's attorney.
But it starts with a 911 call or something like that. It is an arrest.
I'm not sure if it's a 911 call. It's a criminal arrest.
Okay. All right. That's what I didn't understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Williams?
So crimes involving victim, how is the victim handled throughout the process? Institution and their input?
Yeah, no, so on the victim base, so it's statutorily, Mr. Williams, there is limitations as to what type of crimes are allowed into the program. Violent crimes are not. So when you're talking about property damage and property crimes, victims will be in contact, but violent crimes excluded from being able to participate.
But property restitution, is that part of the?
Yeah, that would be part, right, that would be part of it.
Okay, good questions. Any other questions or comments?
The only other comment that I want to just make, and it reminded me when we were talking about how we serve this, how after they're out, what happens. It's tangentially related, and I forgot to mention it in my report, but Weston Bridges is a new program that's in Aurora. They help developmentally and intellectually disabled adults find full-time employment. I want to announce that one of the things that I'm really, really proud of, and something that I had hoped to do when we started 3 years ago before COVID, is we reached out to Weston Bridges and we hired our first employee from Weston Bridges. It's a bailiff. His name Victor, who just started with us a couple weeks ago. But I'm really, really proud of again the 16th. And so Victor's a bailiff. He has a coach. He has training support. He's here, and what we have been doing is hopefully we'll be able to utilize more individuals who want to work in the court system and look for ways to help. So that was just something that when we were talking about what do we do after, he wasn't part of any of our programs, but he's somebody who lives in our community that wants to work, that we were able to reach out to and find a job.
Great, thank you, Chief Judge. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, back to you, Ms. Ost.
The final thing is our resolution acknowledging who in the department has a P card.
Okay, may I have a motion and a
Williams
second to
moves.
discuss? Mr. Williams moves.
Rothwell
Mr.
second.
Rothwell second. And any changes to the attached resolution?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Debbie, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes on to our Finance Committee. And before I forget, Chief Judge, the the CASA resolution will only go to executive. There's a
Exact.
dollar amount attached, but for some reason, it's not going to finance. So just for
Okay,
your.
so it goes to exec. Okay, thank you.
Think it was at executive and your motion was to send it back here, so
Mhm.
it would not go to finance. Yes, you're correct.
Okay, okay, so we will move on to our circuit clerk.
Good morning again. My report is on file if anybody has any questions. I would like to talk a little bit about our staff. We are at 96, which is the most since I have been in office, which is woo-hoo, huge. But we still are down 15 employees, so we continue to hire. Again, the main thing is pay. We get a lot of applicants that want 40,000, and unfortunately, that's not what we pay. We did start a notice program or something that I was very advocating for before I got in office. Was so many of the fines and fees end up in collections, and if they got a notice, maybe they would pay before it goes to collection. So my team has established a 30-day notice, and that they just started this last week. And it's a notice to pay their fines and fees before it goes to collections and gets the 17% increase added onto it. So what's going to happen is they're going to get a notice in 30 days, and then we give them the second notice, and then it goes to collections. So this is a way to try and recoup funds before it ends up in collections, and we have to wait 6 years before somebody actually pays. And it also helps the individual so they don't go to collections. So we're very proud of that. It took a while with Tyler, record keeping manual, everything that's happened in the past 2 years, but we have finally got that established. Another thing is I'd like to tag onto, not to be a pun, but onto the TAC program, is we have an expungement clinic coming up this Saturday at the Aurora Public Library. I normally do 2 to 3 of these a year. Last year we did 3, I believe. No, 3 the first year, 2 last year, and we're doing 2 this year. So we have one on April 15th, 9:30 to noon at the Aurora Public Library. And this is just another avenue for individuals to help clear or seal their records so that they can go on and better their lives, get employment, and continue on. It's hugely, I've been very strongly advocating for this since I've been in office, and I hope that we have a great turnout. I know 20 have already reserved spots for it, but we hope to see more. We always get volunteer attorneys from Kane County Bar Association, the Law Library, and Prairie State Legal to assist us with individuals that come in for this. Our next one isn't until September. That one will be held in Elgin at the Gail Borden Library. So again, our job fairs, first expungement fairs, April 15th, 9:30 to noon at the Aurora Public Library. Our job fair is April 22nd, 10 to noon in our foyer. And then I also want to congratulate Court Services and Judge Hull and his team for applying for this technology grant. Normally, the circuit clerk's office are kind of left out of these type of grants. And I was so happy to see that the state AOIC included the circuit clerk's office in this, and our office received $666,000. It's a horrible number. We'd like to say $660,000. But that's, I think, the first grant of this kind that the circuit clerk's office has received. So we are very excited. With this grant, we plan to continue and have most of our files put on microfilm and digital, so that we do not have paper files. Of course, we have to keep some as paper for sometimes ever, and microfilm for sometimes ever. But this will also save on space needs and staff needs, pulling documents. Everything will be on the computer, which is a huge plus. I noticed that yesterday they talked about the renovation of one portion of our office. It's not for the circuit clerk. It would be for the state's attorney's office. It's our viewing room. I'm not sure if that's going forward or not. It's been discussed, but I know the state's attorney's office received a grant for a portion of that capital improvement. And with that capital improvement, they plan on moving a small portion of my records team over. So then they will all be at the front counter at the foyer. Again, that wall is a temporary wall, but I did not put in ARPA funds for it. I wanted it to be used for other important issues like microfilming and staff and training. So we're moving right along at the circuit clerk's office, made a lot of changes, and I think we're getting good results. And a good portion of that has to do with the strategic plan, the focus groups, and the ideas coming out of staff and not just executives, which I think is huge. I know most of us were staff at one time, and sometimes people forget that, and they forget how important our employees are. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Barrow. And then we have a P card.
Yes.
resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, my P card resolution. I'd like to bring that forward.
Okay, and are all the names attached accurate?
They are. Let me look them up. It would be myself. Let's see. Ann Lambert. Do I have to name all the names?
No, I
Would
just
you
want to make sure
appreciate
that what was attached is accurate so that. we
Yes,
can
it
move
is
forward
correct.
without
Yes,
any
we've gone
additions.
over it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, may I have a motion and a second to?
Roth
move?
will make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Williams moves, Mr. Roth seconds. Any comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Pepe,
Steffi, yes.
Twilia,
Kim's yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
I do have one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I failed to thank Commissioner Roth for visiting my office. That was a great visit, and I hope you learned a lot. And I would encourage anyone else to stop by.
No, thank you. I did learn a lot, and I've been trying to meet with as many different departments as possible because it's helping me get up the learning curve very quickly.
So thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is our coroner report. I don't see the coroner online. He does have a resolution regarding the P cards, but I think we're gonna have to postpone this because we need to confirm his P card. So his report is on file, and we'll defer this resolution to next month, just to make sure that we're accurate with our review. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business, Mr. Van Kerkhoff. Most of you remember, whoever was here back in October, we started discussing the ordinances regarding the changes to our county code. So today I'm happy to make sure that we are looking at our chapter 15 for the property maintenance ordinance. So Mr. Van Kerkhoff, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning, Mark Van Kerkhoff, Director of Development and Community Services. Good to be back before you. Since we are here in October with two ordinances regarding noise and discharge of firearms, we've been continuing to work on both diligently on separate channels. We have this morning a draft before you. Before I get to the content of that, I'd like to give you just a brief history of the noise aspect. When we came before you in the fall, it was mainly, we had a lot of constituent concerns over the summer about amplified music and sound coming from parties and things like that. So we take an approach working to address that. Two things we learned in that process. One, the folks concerned about noise from amplified sound and music were joined by folks who were concerned about ATV noise, and they made some presentations to several committees. And in discussing offline with a number of those folks, there's some consensus among people out there that having requesting that the county board move to a decibel definition for all noise would be something that they think they would consider. So that was kind of across the board from the ATV and the music folks. I don't know if the sheriff is still online, but he had inquired of him in terms of what that would take in terms of equipping and training deputies, and he'd indicated a willingness to do that. So what you have before you this morning is a draft taken from Kendall counties. We actually have a number of our surrounding counties have noise ordinances that are based on a decibel level. Thank you for putting up the graphic. Just to give you an idea, the concept is to have a different decibel level for daytime and nighttime noise defined by actual hours of the day. Kendall County was the one that was proposed or suggested by the folks who are concerned about ATV noise as being a good measure. We did take a look at our surrounding counties. DuPage and DeKalb counties have decibel levels that are a little bit higher. I guess you could say Kendall is the quietest county. And they also have a little bit difference in their decibel level in daytime for their general sound ordinance. And then they actually have special standards for when somebody is approved for a special use zoning. So I put both of those on there. They're both lower than some of the surrounding counties with that. So you have this morning a resolution in form. So if you did want to act on this to move this forward to the full board, you could. This is still kind of in a draft work in process. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I will note that if you do think that you want to move this ahead, I do have a couple recommended amendments to the body of the resolution, and then one potential additional recommendation for the actual text to be added to chapter 15. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I guess let's just discuss this for now, and we'll keep it here until we have a correct version of it, just to give the public time to review it as well. I know we had a lot of public input back in October and November. So I want to make sure it remains in this committee before it moves on and it's finalized here. So I'll open it up for any questions, discussions regarding this. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark, I think we're amending section 15-2C, not section 15-13. When I look at the county code, there is no section 15.3. It seems like we're following what's already in 15.2C. So I just want to confirm, I think we need to change the resolution to reflect
Thank
that.
you. Yes, I do believe you're correct on that. And my apology, we took a little bit
No
change
problem.
of approach on it. So
I got to tell you, I have mixed feelings about this ordinance for a lot of reasons. In the western townships, that's where this is going to be enforced more than the eastern half of the county. Living in Mill Creek for 24 years, we have some areas with smaller lots. My former neighbor had their trampoline right against my property line, and their kids would be out till 11 o'clock at night, jumping on the trampoline, having a good time. Basically made my deck and patio unusable. I would have never called the sheriff on that, but that probably a violation of what we're proposing, because normal conversational level is 60 decibels. And it was more than 60 decibels, I guess. So I think we're gonna have a problem. We're going into graduation season. People have parties outside during graduation, and have music playing, get loud. That happens all the time in Mill Creek. Now where I live now on 5 acres, it's not so much of a concern, So I think we should maybe look at some things here, and some of the things that I thought about is, I think maybe the daytime level is too low at is it 60 or
65?
65. Looking at some charts here, average traffic noise is 70 decibels. So the garbage truck driving down the street's louder than what we're prohibiting here. I think maybe we ought to have some exceptions or later times on Fridays and Saturday nights. Something we could look at. I'm concerned about the penalty structure. Under our code, it's a fine up to $500. I think maybe we ought to have like a graduated penalty structure, $100 first fine, 200 second time. I'm not just throwing that out there for conversation. And then, you talked about the special events, like, so there's one issue we're dealing with right now where there's amplified music. Would that be 65 decibels or would that be 60 decibels under this proposal?
So the draft ordinance has 65. One of the residents concerned about the ATV noise noted to me that the actual general noise ordinance for Kendall County is 60. So that's, I kept that 65, but I wanted to give an explanation I imagine they're listening in on the meeting. So that they understand that there's a little bit difference within the Kendall County ordinance. And then we also wanted to have for your comparison with other counties that they are, as you noted, they're a little bit higher, just above the traffic level at 71.
Okay. And am I correct that ag parcels would be exempt? So if there's a farmer running his combine at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night, that would not be subject to this ordinance?
That's correct. Actually, in the exemption, this is one area where I suggested another potential amendment to chapter 15. Under 15-3 exemptions, it says that properties that are zoned and primarily used for agriculture are exempt from this entire chapter. We added an exemption to that exemption for regarding beekeeping when we amended the ordinance the other year for beekeeping. I think it might be appropriate to look at another exemption to the exemption for noise that is non-agricultural, because some of the complaints we have are from properties that are agriculturally zoned and agriculturally used primarily, but they happen to have a party barn or something. And,
right.
and I don't think that's the intent of the agricultural exemption. We just want to make sure that the county board doesn't interfere with agricultural activities, but having ATVs or other non-agricultural noise can still be disruptive to neighbors.
And so how are we going to train the sheriff's deputies? I assume they're going to have decibel meters and some sort of training on how they use them.
Yes.
Okay.
And if the sheriff is online, you feel free to chime in. He's not.
He's not, but I know we've been in discussions with the sheriff regarding the purchasing of the decibel readers for every car, and it wasn't a large amount for purchasing. My question would be kind of how this would be enforced. The neighbor would have to call the sheriff's office. The sheriff would have to come out and then decide whether or not he was going to use the decibel reader. If it doesn't, I mean, by the time the sheriff's office gets there, most of the time, they're going to turn down the music or turn down the volume. So I'm not sure how much of this is more of a deterrent. I don't think we're really going to get a lot of fines and fees out of this, but I think it's more just if everybody was just a nice neighbor and they would be nice to their neighbors, we wouldn't have to deal with this. But any other suggestions to this, Mr. Roth?
Roth here. Could we get like sample files, WAV files of, here's what 60 sounds like, here's what 65 sounds like? Because some people are not technical, so that when they see that number, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I can look into.
I thought I've seen those
I think
before.
There are charts that try to correlate the sound.
Yeah. I thought I've come across where there would be recording that goes up to a certain decibel.
And this came up.
Because it would help for education too, for people.
Mr. Roth? So just to give you, I've been looking at, some common examples of sound, a busy restaurant is 70 to 80 decibels.
Right.
The loud radio, 70 to 75, a city street, 70, hair dryer, 70 decibels, electric shaver, 60, normal conversation, 60. So it ranges.
But this would also be for feet, right? So if you have your radio in your house, I shouldn't be able to hear it in my house because
it's at the
it's a
property
certain,
line.
it's at the property line. So there's a distance too. So it's not just the sound, but the distance from it. So I don't know how we would be able to measure that in committee.
No, I'm not. No, just to
Yeah.
give people an
Yeah.
example of here's what that sounds
But no,
like.
that's a good point, just so that we are aware of where we're looking at.
And
Okay.
yeah, hopefully somebody won't complain about a hair dryer.
Yeah, one of the things I did like about Kendall County's ordinance is that it stipulates that it's from the property line of the complainant. So, the sheriff would be responding to complaints. The deputy would obviously have access to the complainant's property at that property line. Seems to be a fair way to handle it. Maybe somebody closer that maybe it is not bothering as much, so they don't necessarily want to complain.
Okay, any other comments for this? Yeah, if we could take Mr. Williams' comments into consideration and then the amendment you wanted to add to it and then maybe bring it back next month to
Certainly.
review. Okay, okay, so we will move on to the agenda. May I have a motion to place written reports on file?
Roth will make the motion.
Mr. Roth moves, Ms. Gum seconds. Any roll call, please?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Tepe, Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. No need for executive session. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Williams moves.
Mr. Williams moves.
Roth will
Mr.
second.
Roth will second. Okay, thank you, everybody, for your time. We'll see you next month.